Hey, I'm Jamin Mills from thehandmadehome.net. Today we're going to show you how to build this planter wall. With a few easy steps and a little bit of time, you can have a beautiful place to put your plants. You can customize this to fit your wall by simply making a few adjustments to the wood and metal sizes and a number of holes you'll drill. All good projects start with building your supply list. For this project, we can find everything we need at the Home Depot. Some of the things we'll need are cedar picket fence, 2x4s, 2x8s, metal rods, drills, screws, paint. We'll need wire, of course plants for our planters, pots, a saw, some wire cutters, tape measure, and a pencil. There's a couple of ways to build this project. You can hang it on a wall using some U-bolts and some eye-hooks, or we're going to show you today how to build it on a stand. The first thing we're going to do is cut the wood down, our 2x8s, to the proper size. So our wood sizes are going to be 60 and 33 inches. The smaller one, we're adding 1.5 inches on each side. This is to allow for overlap of our longer pieces, which will give us a flush fit. So the next step is measuring where you're actually going to place your metal rods. To do this, we want to measure up 2 inches and place a mark. Then in 3/4 inch and place a cross mark. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Your marks will need to be at 10 inches, 18 inches, 26 inches, 34 inches, 42 inches, 50 inches, and 58 inches. So for our 33-inch piece, we're going to do the exact same thing, except this time our measurements are a little bit different. We're going to do a measurement at 3.5 inches, then 11.5 inches, 19.5 inches, and finally 27.5 inches. Now that we have all of our marks on our boards, we want to drill our holes. Now we're using a 2x8, which means it's about 1.5 inches thick. And so that we don't go all the way through, we simply just want to measure on our drill bit and place it at about the 1 inch mark. That'll let us know when to stop drilling. Just an easy little trick so that you don't go all the way through. Once you have a couple holes drilled, you can test the metal to make sure it fits in. The next step, if you're not using stock metal, is to cut your metal pieces down. You can do this with a hacksaw or with a type of grinder. Now that we have our wood cut and the holes drilled, our next step is going to be painting. This is where your creativity can come out. You can use all kinds of colors, or you can just use a stain. We're going to paint our frame white and then leave the cedar planks the color they are. Now you can brush this on, or you can do what we're doing and use a simple spray paint that has primer in it as well. While we wait for the first coat to dry on the wood, we can go ahead and move on to planting the plants. So we're using a 6-inch pot, and then we found the plant that we liked that would fit in perfectly, so we didn't have to do a whole lot. As always, you want to break up the root ball a little bit so that it'll know to start growing again. And then we simply put it in, and we've got our first plant ready. And we'll just move on doing this with all 14 plants, because that's how many we'll need for this project. While we're potting our plants, the first coat on the wood had time to dry. So now we can move on to adding the second coat. Now that we have it painted and the plants are in the pots, we're ready to assemble. As you can see over here, we already have the rods into one end, and now we're going to assemble them into the other end. Now that we've put in the first set of rods, we're going to screw together the wood frame a little bit so it's easier to put everything together and it doesn't come apart. Now that we have the first set of steel rods in, we can screw the frame together. This will hold those in place and then make our job a little bit easier as we put in the second set. Now that we've inserted the rods in the other end and we have a crisscross pattern, we just take our last board and we begin trying to work it in. It's the same thing as last time. We're just sliding them in one at a time, and then we'll hammer them in. So to make this a little easier as we put it together, we're pre-clipping some wire, and then we'll take the wire and just simply tie it together. And it'll hold it in place, that way it doesn't slip out on us. And we'll do this as we go all the way down. Now that we've got all that tied together, we're simply going to add these cedar planks on the back to finish it off. We'll do that with a few screws. With everything built, we're simply going to take the pots and slide them into place now. The ledge of the pot will rest on the metal and hold it in place. We'll do this for all of them. So in just a few short hours and some supplies from the Home Depot, you can follow this tutorial and beautify your backyard with this great planter.